Hello and welcome to our Midday Report here on TVP World. My name is Diana Skaya. European leaders are reacting to what they describe as cautious progress to international peace efforts. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk says recent talks with key allies have offered new grounds for hope, but he warned that major uncertainties remain.
I've just held talks with the leaders of key European countries. We assessed the results of the first stage of these serious negotiations involving the leaders of Ukraine, the US and Canada. Peace is on the horizon. It's clear that certain things have happened that give us hope that this war could end, and soon. But that's still hope, and there's a long way to 100% certainty. The concrete takeaway from the last few days of efforts is the new statement by the US that it's willing to participate in security guarantees for Ukraine after a peace agreement is reached, including a guarantee of US forces on the ground.
Russia's war losses in Ukraine are accelerating even as the Trump administration pushes for that rapid negotiated peace deal. Now, new data shows Moscow is paying a growing both human and economic price for the conflict. And that's raising questions about just how much further Russia can actually sustain its war efforts.
Russia's losses in Ukraine are rising faster than ever as the U.S. pushes for a peace deal. According to estimates, Russian sources published 40% more soldier obituaries over the past 10 months compared with the previous year, according to the BBC. Overall, around 160,000 Russian soldiers have been reported killed in Ukraine since February 2022. However, the real death toll is believed to be much higher, possibly between 240 and 350,000, despite ongoing offensive operations and advances on the ground. But according to Ukraine's intelligence chief, Kirill Bodanov, despite heavy losses on the front line, Russia continues recruiting personnel and even increasing its troop numbers.
The mobilization plan for 2025 was 403,000 people. They fulfilled it at approximately 103%. Completing recruitment in early December. The plan for 2026 is 409,000 people.
While Russia's mounting casualty rate appears to be a little concerning to the Kremlin, authorities in Moscow are worried about another problem: the growing economic gap. According to the Russian Finance Ministry, by the start of winter, federal spending had exceeded revenues by $55 billion, while public debt continues to rise. Meanwhile, Russia continues to spend heavily on its military ambitions, with 46% of its 2026 budget allocated to war.
Since late spring, Russia has entered a stable economic recession. It is not a collapse yet, but the problems are mounting. Look at Russia's 2026 budget. It would be catastrophic for any country. All its social programs are being cut. The only thing left is defense spending. The decisions already taken are unpopular, painful and difficult. No country can develop or move forward normally when nearly half of its budget is spent on war. It's simply impossible.
If this trend continues into next year, experts warn that fewer financial resources will be available to sustain military operations in Ukraine. The war has already plunged Russia into a long-term budget deficit. According to the latest data, the federal budget is projected to remain in deficit until 2042, with a shortfall of nearly $270 billion, or 2.9% of projected GDP.
Staying on Russia, well, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has accused Ukraine of trying to strike a residence linked to President Vladimir Putin in the Novgorod region, an allegation Kyiv has flatly denied. Lavrov claimed dozens of Ukrainian drones were intercepted, while President Zelenskyy dismissed the accusation as false and said Moscow is trying to derail ongoing peace talks.
This is President Vladimir Putin's residence in northern Russia, known as Valday residence. The vast 250-hectare complex includes around 80 buildings, among them main house, a spa complex, guest houses, stables, a hockey rink and other amenities. According to investigative reports, the residence is notable for its enormous scale and cost, estimated in the billions of dollars. On Monday, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov claimed that the residence had been targeted by a Ukrainian drone attack.
The Kyiv regime launched a terrorist attack using 91 long-range strike unmanned aerial vehicles on the state residence of the President of the Russian Federation in the Novgorod region. All UAVs were destroyed by the air defense systems of the Russian armed forces.
Lavrov also said that Russia will not withdraw from negotiations with Ukraine, but following the attack, it will reconsider its stance and threatens Kyiv with potential consequences.
The targets and timing of retaliatory strikes by the Russian armed forces have been decided.
Ukraine's president swiftly reacted to the claims, calling them another Russian lie, but warned that Moscow's next target could be in the capital.
They are likely preparing the ground for a strike on the capital and probably government buildings.
Russia previously attacked Ukraine's cabinet of ministers in September, causing significant damage to the building. Russian claims of an alleged Kyiv-led attack, which Putin described as an attack on himself, come just a day after US President Donald Trump met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. The meeting aimed to finalize Ukraine's revised 20-point peace plan and secure post-war security guarantees from the US, similar to NATO's Article 5. While the meeting did not produce any major breakthroughs or decisions, Zelenskyy said it marked progress, which is unwelcome in Moscow.
If we're on good terms with America and make progress, the Russians see it as a failure.
Putin, in turn, quickly informed Donald Trump about the attack. During a meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Trump condemned the strike and praised himself for not providing Ukraine with long-range missiles.
The Tomahawks, I didn't want that, because we're talking about, it's a delicate period of time. This is not the right time. It's one thing to be offensive, because they're offensive.
Moscow has not provided any evidence to support its allegations against Ukraine.
On Tuesday, Polish farmers staged protests at more than 170 locations across the country, opposing the European Union's trade agreement with the Mercosur bloc, which includes Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay.
Stop Mercosur! Stop Mercosur!
Neither the winter cold nor the holiday season prevented farmers all over Poland from making their views about Mercosur heard.
We are very determined despite the time in between holidays. I think these protests can continue to escalate if Europe and European officials they don't come to their senses and block this agreement.
The agreement was meant to be signed in December, but amid European farmers' demonstrations in Brussels, EU leaders decided to postpone the signing until January 2026. Among the farmers' biggest concerns are financial considerations. The agreement is intended to establish tariff preferences for certain agricultural products from Mercosur countries, including beef, poultry, and dairy, in exchange for opening those countries' markets up to European industry. Polish farmers fear the European market would be flooded with cheaper foods from South America.
You could say that this effectively means economic death for us, commercial farms. We will cease to exist after this agreement. Within a year, it could be 80% of farms, a total collapse.
The Polish government has taken note of these concerns. Deputy Prime Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz assured the public that Poland is mounting an offensive in the EU and building a coalition of countries ready to stop the deal.
There is no agreement on Mercosur in its current form. Without equal standards and real controls, this is not free trade, but unfair competition for Polish farms.
Adoption of the contested agreement requires a qualified majority of EU members. A minority bloc of 4 countries, accounting for 35% of the EU population, could prevent ratification.
High-speed rail in Poland is moving closer to reality. State-owned rail companies have announced tenders for the first stretch of a new high-speed line, which is due to be completed by 2032, as well as for the ultra-fast trains that will operate on it.
This is Warszawa Zachodnia, a 60 million euro state-of-the-art railway station in western Warsaw. This will be the terminus of Poland's first high-speed rail line. Once completed, it will be the fastest line in Europe and one of the fastest in the world. Even though the line won't be ready for 7 years, the train purchasing has to start now.
Historyczny moment dla polskiej kolei.
It's a historic moment for Poland. The national railway carrier PKP Intercity has started the tendering process for Poland's first high-speed trains. The plan is to purchase rolling stock capable of running with speeds up to 320 or even 350 kilometers per hour.
The line will connect the capital city of Warsaw with the city of Łódź, with the travel time halved to 40 minutes in 2032. 3 years later, trains will run westward to Poznań and Wrocław. The government would like as much of the new rolling stock to be manufactured in Poland. But the problem is, Polish producers don't offer trains running at 320 kilometers per hour.
That's why it's very important that Polish manufacturers will be able to take part in this tender as consortium members, and we know that they are interested. Polish companies will compete as partners with manufacturers who already have necessary technology and experience.
The new line will also stop at the new mega airport between Warsaw and Łódź called Port Poland, which will replace Warsaw's Chopin Airport. On Monday, a tender for the first 12-kilometer stretch of the high-speed rail line was announced. Together, all these investments will create a new backbone for the country's infrastructure.
Wszystkie działania są synchronizowane.
Everything we do is synchronized. In June, we bought new planes for LOT, the national airline. On Monday, we announced a tender for the first stretch of the high-speed rail line. Today, we announced a tender for trains that will run on it.
The new line will cost around 20 billion euros, with the new mega airport adding another 10 billion to the tab.
Denmark's postal service is delivering its final letter. After 400 years, state-owned PostNord is ending traditional mail delivery. The iconic red mailboxes are already gone, auctioned off for charity, as the company shifts entirely to parcel delivery next year.
This is the last time you'll see it. The Danish National Postal Service, PostNord, is delivering its last letters today. It is a big change for a company with such a rich history.
King Christian IV established the Danish Postal Service 400 years ago.
And 4 centuries is a long time to accumulate fond memories. But now these traditional red mailboxes will no longer be needed. Some of them have been dismantled and auctioned off for charity.
The mailboxes disappeared in a snap. They were gone just like that.
And the reason behind PostNord ceasing mail delivery?
The number of letters has dropped by about 90% compared to the year 2000.
Therefore, starting next year, PostNord will focus exclusively on parcel delivery.
Danes are shopping online more than ever before, and PostNord is handling a significantly higher number of packages. We want to be where Danes need us most.
The decision by PostNord, a Swedish-Danish operator, comes as numerous postal companies in the region struggle to find their footing in the digital age. Poczta Polska, Poland's biggest operator, is currently in the process of restructuring. It recorded a loss of nearly 50 million euros in 2024 alone.
And that really shows how the digital world is slowly taking over. That's all for this Midday Report here on TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya. Thanks for watching.